New Zealand, after beating the world champions England in their World Cup opener, continue to raise the bar at the World Cup 2023. Somehow, for some strange reason, the bar has been lowered here on Cricbuzz Live, which is why I was allowed to enter the studio. The pre-show, remember, had a 6-foot-tall man sitting here in this very chair because I was stuck in Mumbai traffic. But luckily, I've reached here in time. 3:22 for New Zealand as they were put into bat. Not a single 100, a couple of 50s. Daryl Mitchell 48, Rachin Ravindra scoring another half century against 7 Netherlands bowlers. Well, two very colourful gentlemen in the studio. They were separated by this table in the pre-show, but I am such a uniting force. I've made sure they're both together once again. Bhattacharjya and Mr. Zaheer Khan once again. 3:22. When did they score these runs?
Well, if you look at the whole progression, look at the whole progression.
Yeah.
It's been good for New Zealand. A lot of positives. They're looking like a team to beat so far in the tournament because they've been very consistent. And we'll have to see now how they go on with the ball. But batting, it was just a complete nice batting performance from their side because they got a good start. And that maybe 11 to 20 phase was that slow phase of the game. Barring that, you look at that every block, they've been above 6 runs per over, finishing nicely with 8.4 runs per over in the last 10, which was expected. And that's your answer there. They somehow managed to up the ante towards the end and got over 300. At one point, we were thinking that they're not going to reach 300, but they managed to do so.
And to think, Joy, they did this after not scoring a single run in the first 3 overs. There were 2 maidens.
Exactly. 3 maidens, yeah.
Yep. 2 from Aryan Dutt and 3 maiden overs at the start. And for them to be able to do that just goes to show that they knew that at some stage they will be able to change that gear and go past 300.
So, yeah, for a maths analogy, you know, these sine curves. So, their innings was a sine curve. So, in the beginning, they had nothing. They were just below the radar. Then they came up again, scored well. Then again, they went down in the middle. And right at the end, they got 60 runs in the last 5 overs, which even in, a T20 match would be a good result. 50 in the last 3. The last 3 overs really was a defining force. 50 and Santner batted beautifully. That kick is going to be very important for New Zealand because those are the kind of runs, 36 of 17 and 10 of 4. Those 46-50 runs that you're getting right towards the end, last 3 overs, those are differentiating plays. And that's going to make a difference. And this is the one problem where associate sides have a problem, that once they start leaking towards the end, there isn't that go-to bowler in the end who can say, there's not a Bumrah there or a Harris Strauss there who's going to be really difficult to hit.
They used 8 bowlers in their opening game, 7 tonight. Clearly, the absence of Logan van Beek showing in what they did. There was just not enough teeth in this bowling lineup, barring Roelof van der Merwe, who's played for South Africa in the past. He's played a lot of leagues across the world as well, has played in England. So barring him, Roelof van der Merwe, who surprisingly didn't even bowl his full 10.
No, I felt on the whole, I think they've done a decent job with the ball in hand. And that's what I've been saying. If you just look at the last 5 overs, 4 overs, that's where that gap is, which Joyda was trying to mention, that they don't have a Bumrah or they don't have that quality back-end bowler who is going to control things. But they managed the game through and through nicely. I mean, you look at the warm-up games, you look at generally how the games have been going so far. A strong team can make 350, 370, 400 also you saw the other day from South Africa. You've seen a couple of series leading up to the World Cup where teams were scoring in excess of 350 runs. When you look at that and you look at today's pitch, it was a decent pitch to bat on. They started well. In spite of first 3 maiden overs, they still got to that 60, 62 runs in the first 10 overs, which suggested that the pitch was actually good. Wasn't holding up too much. Later on, once the ball got older, maybe a little bit. But on the whole, they were managing to control the game, not let it slip too far away from their grip. But back 10 was a tough one.
3 half centuries for the top 5 of New Zealand, all of them among the runs. Just goes to show, Joy, that they are in the zone, regardless of the opposition, whether it's England or Netherlands. They seem to be in the zone, spending time in the middle, and this clearly augurs really well for future challenges.
Yeah, and once they started scoring, once after those first 3 overs, they scored consistently. After that, there's not an over that went below 6 for the next 10 to 12 overs. And that, I think, tells you a little bit about how they play their game. They were spreading the field, they were using the field, they were playing it around. And I think that is the strength of this New Zealand team. That they have very different kind of batsmen, and they play also because a lot of their top order batsmen play square of the wicket. So they play later, they play square of the wicket, they create more opportunities. Once you try and plug that gap, other gaps open up in the field. So I think they rotate the field very well. They manipulate the field very well, their early order batsmen. And I really like the way they played the cricket, because again, it was the kind of innings that, Mike Hussey used to play at one time. That before you know it, he scored 35, 40 runs and you don't even know when it was scored. Yeah. So there was no point at which they looked really explosive, but the runs kept coming.
Also, they didn't allow their ego to come in the way, saying, we're playing an associate nation, so we will play the kind of shots we want. They were happy to respect the decent deliveries and then look to score off deliveries that were relatively looser.
Yeah. Stick to the processes. Yeah. I think that's something which they were trying to do, and also keeping up with the tempo. So that second block of 10 overs, once they slowed down a bit at that stage. After that, if you see, Daryl Mitchell was very positive with his footwork. Yeah. He was not afraid of stepping down and then taking the bowlers on. So they somehow, I felt that keeping up with the tempo of having just around 6 scoring rate in those middle phase. Yeah. And I think that is something which consciously they were trying to do, and will be seen going forward in the tournament as well. Rotation of the strike is good, and I think in this World Cup, there's no doubt that the teams who have players who are able to control that middle phase of the game, able to keep the scoreboard ticking, will have that advantage, because back 10, then you can have 80 runs. On a good day, you might have 100 runs in that. So that's how the game is going to go. Keep up with that 5.5, 6 run rate, and you will see score of 330, 340, 50, which is going to be a good total to defend.
Will Young, I'm sure, is aware of what's likely to happen once Kane Williamson is ready. He knows as soon as the big boss Kane is ready, he will have to sit out. There's no other option. But he made good use of the opportunity, 70 of 80. He looked comfortable out there.
Absolutely. And I think if you see his record against Netherlands, it's been absolutely stellar. Yep. He's had 200s before this. He's had a 50 before this. So obviously he enjoys. Who wouldn't enjoy? I mean, compared to some of the other countries, this is not the greatest of attacks. But look, the big thing, as they always say, is there's opportunity. But taking advantage of opportunity is a huge thing. And it's not easy to bat with a mindset knowing that perhaps no matter what happens in this innings, I'm going to sit out the next one. So in that sense, I think they are firmly focused on the game. And I think that's one thing you have to give New Zealand, that the culture they have, that it doesn't matter. The team is above everything else. Yep. No player is above the team. So if the team needs you to sit out the next match, so it does.
Yeah, for New Zealand, it'll be good to have a player with a few runs under his belt, even if he is going to be considered a backup to Kane Williamson. We don't know how fit he is going to be, how much he can last while playing those sweep shots that he tried against Pakistan in that warm-up game. It's good to have someone with game time under his belt.
Definitely. And I think you look at... you're making way for Kane Williamson, isn't it? So that's not going to be a very difficult choice for the management or for the player himself to understand. It's about just gaining that experience. I think it's still early days for him in his international career, so that's how we're going to be looking at. Also, New Zealand is consciously making that effort of staying ahead tactically, and we were touching upon on that fact in the pre-game show where. We looked at the change which they made for this match. Lockie comes in just to add that extra bit of pace, looking at the opposition. Yep. Know that Netherlands, we're going to need someone who can bowl 145 clicks and bounce the batters out, scare them out, maybe get those Yorkers going, attack the stumps, so those kind of things. So I think this team will be making these 1 or 2 tactical changes which you'll see in the tournament. Batting is looking good. Rachin has looked good. Conway and Rachin had that partnership. They started well in today's game also. Rachin scored a 50. Will Young also scoring that 70. Tom Latham, the captain himself, chipping in with a nice 50 there. So all in all, I think New Zealand is gaining momentum in this championship. There is no doubt about that.
Yes, a lot of experts have had to change their pick for the semi-finals. Mr. Sehwag was very quick to say, listen, New Zealand have got to come in. So within just an innings and a half, they've let people reassess their Final Four. Were they part of your Final Four as well?
No, they weren't. I mean, I'm being absolutely and totally honest. No, they weren't, because You looked on paper, England, Australia looked to be far superior sides, and for that fourth team, India looks a very good side. For that fourth team, you're saying, okay, Pakistan is there as a candidate, then you have, South Africa as a candidate. So where do you go? I mean, New Zealand to break into this top 6 pack looked a bit difficult. Top 4 looked a bit difficult. Right now, it's going to be exactly like they say, runs on the board, it's wins on the board.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens, after 2 games, if you have 2 wins in the board and somebody else, say, drops the second match, suddenly if England by chance drop that second match, suddenly that confidence, they're wondering, am I quite there? One more loss, then the sort of, doubts start going on. The good thing about this tournament, though, is it's a long tournament. Yeah. You have 9 matches, so you have time to recover. Remember what happened to Pakistan in 2019, and then they stormed their way back almost. So, things can happen.
Rachin Ravindra has been a surprise surprise element of that happy story so far for New Zealand. That blistering 100 against England in that opening game. A runner ball 51. He was looking good, spent some time after that first wicket fell. 3 fours and a 6. He was looking really good and set for another big one. But again, another half century just goes to show that that first century in that first game was not a flash in the pan.
I mean, he must be the leading run scorer at this stage. I mean.
Yes.
So he's having a good World Cup. What's important is that after that one big innings, you back it up with another good one just to keep things moving.
Yeah.
And that is something which we see with any player. Rachin, I think, is going to take a lot of confidence from this innings. Now we just have to see how it affects his bowling. How his bowling is going to now go maybe a notch or 2 higher, which is going to be the most exciting part for New Zealand team. Because then suddenly you're thinking, okay, whatever planning which we've been doing tactically, certain players not available, certain players available, how are we going to approach the whole campaign? And you see, okay, now this cog is fitting very well, and it's going to give you a lot of dividends as we move along. So if his bowling now has that positive effect because of his batting, then it will be a lot of excitement in that New Zealand think tank.
He made amends in that game against England. I think he gave away 74 in his 10 and then went on to score a big 100. So Conway is at number 1 among the run scorers, 152 and at 30 odd runs today as well. So he's at 1. Rachin Ravindra is at 2. Is it looking like a life-changing World Cup for Rachin Ravindra?
It already is. No matter what happens from here on, if on the first game that you play in a World Cup match, you score an unbeaten century to knock out the defending champions, it's already life-changing. So your confidence is high, everything is high, and New Zealand must be hoping and praying that it comes on his bowling as well, because if he can give them 3, 4, 5 overs, I mean, he had a terrible, Harry Brooks gifted a wicket to him. That Christmas came early for Rachin Ravindra with the wicket of Harry Brooks. But after that, if his confidence somewhere seeps into his bowling, see, because that left-arm bowler, he and Santner, if they can, and they're going to have a lot of pitches where there are a lot of right-handers. Okay, a lot of Indian pitches give us. If he can get his length a bit better, if he can give 3, 4, 5 overs, he doesn't need to give 10, gives 3, 4, 5 overs, it's going to make a huge difference. Because then what happens is the more overs he bowls, they can play Lockie with more surety. Because if you don't have enough batsmen giving you enough, then they'll be forced to play Nisham. So that's the thing there is. And if he comes with the ball, if he's handy with the ball, he gives them batting up front as well. Lots of options move for them.
If he can't bowl well enough for some reason, if he just doesn't manage to find bowling form, has he done well enough to warrant a place in this side as only a batter?
Absolutely, and I think that's something which we've seen with all-rounders. You have that advantage, isn't it? If your batting is going so well, you're going to say, okay, bowling at some stage is going to come good. If required, we'll always have that option. We may not use it. So that's the kind of thinking which goes around. But if he lifts his bowling up, then things are going to become even more easier for him. Other than that, I think on just pure batting, he's a batsman who can bowl. That's the feeling I get. And he's doing a phenomenal job with the bat in hand. So you would want to continue with that. So that pressure is not there at the moment on Rachin. It's just about feeling that confidence and just moving along with that and taking advantage of this phase.
I just have one thing to say, which is that you have 3 keys in that. You have modes, okay? So he's a Rahul mode, there's a Sachin mode, But what they now need is a Ravindra Jadeja mode,
Correct.
Ravindra mode.
Correct.
So against tough opponents, tough pitches, you're in Rahul mode. Against pitches where the ball's coming on, you're in Sachin mode. But when the ball is turning and the ball is giving a little bit of turn out here, they now want the Ravindra mode. So channel your inner Ravindra now. Rachin is great now for the Ravindra part.
The original Ravindra is also now in Ravindra mode, which he wasn't before the World Cup. So, well, India is another story. But we've got to take a look at the bowling card. 7 bowlers used. At one stage, New Zealand were 3 down for about 238. And then a couple of wickets fell. 4 wickets fell, in fact, between 238 and 293. And yet, New Zealand went past 322. It could have been worse, Zach. It could have been easily been 350, 360 if they hadn't managed to pick up those wickets in the second half of the innings.
Yeah, set batters in and passing 50 is never a good sign for a bowler.
Yeah.
That's the tough time you always be careful of. You got to be very, very careful in those scenarios if 2 set batters are batting out there in the middle. The only way to control things is by picking wickets. And I think both Meekaran and Basdili did that for their team. They've been thinking like that. And I think because of that, you are seeing that progression has been just around 6, 6.5. Because if any team is going around 6, 6.5, what do you want to do? You want to start that power game much earlier than leaving it too late. They had to leave it for the last 5 overs because of those wickets falling at that stage, and that certainly didn't let New Zealand to just get away from the game and just run away with the batting innings.
Yep, despite no Jimmy Neesham, Mitchell Santner coming in at number 8 and scoring 36 of 17, 3 fours and 2 sixes. That really helped New Zealand get that fillip right towards the end and go past 303-3 to score for Netherlands. It perhaps might have been a slightly smaller number if they had their first choice pacer. Logan Van Beek, he wasn't there, wasn't available due to injury. Now, talking about unavailability of big players, Shubman Gill will not be a part of the Indian possibilities for that second game against Afghanistan. That will be played day after on the 11th at the Arun Jaitley Stadium. This is the official statement that's come in from the BCCI. He will not be travelling with the team to Delhi on the 9th and he will be under observation of the medical team. He will stay back in Chennai and will be under supervision of the medical team. What do you make of that?
So first thoughts, look, by the time the game came around, Shubman already had a couple of days before it happened. So you assume that 5th or 6th is somewhere, that's around the time that he must have got the bug, because we've been talking about this 2-3 days before the game. So from the 5th, if you take right up to what's our next match, 14 Pakistan is after 11th?
Saturday, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so that gives 9.
So that gives 9 days. So I think that's what they'll be looking at, saying that if they catch him up front, they have enough time, he gets enough rest, doesn't do anything. And then I think they're looking clearly at Pakistan. And if it doesn't happen, they'll be very keen to get him fit before that match. It's a big match. If they don't, they don't. But what they're doing, I think, very sensibly is giving him the best chance to recover. Don't move, let's not even think about playing you in this match. They think they have enough firepower to get through against Afghanistan. But just try and get rested before the big match. And if it happens, fantastic.
Yeah, because
it's still a 50-50.
But the game against Pakistan is, in a sense, a home game for Shubman, isn't it? He loves Ahmedabad. He scores runs by the ton.
That stadium, loves that pitch. Yeah, he himself wouldn't want to miss that. And the kind of form he was in. You wanted him to be out there because he was just hitting the ball cleanly. He's had a terrific season so far. I was really looking forward to Shubman starting the World Cup. Not the case. Forced thing, you can't really have any control over it. We can just hope that the setback is not a big setback and he gets back on the field, gets back to his training as soon as possible.
It would have felt a lot tougher for India if India had lost against Australia last night and if game 2 wasn't against Afghanistan. If it was, say, against South Africa or in England, then Shubman's absence would have pinched India a lot more.
See, I think this is a thing which is out of your control. Once you put that playing 11 out on the field, you just thinking about the game and what's in your hand, and you just got to focus on that. Whoever is involved in that game, and I think that's the way it should be. That's the way it was. I felt you managed to secure a win, and that's what matters. Your campaign is still going to go on. you kind of prepare yourself and create those scenarios in your head and pick your squad.
Yeah.
So we had a blow with Aksar's exclusion because of fitness issues, but you have to be proactive, and you got to have your plans, backup plans ready. So Ashwin has taken that place. Now Shubman is not able to take the field because of fever. So and health issues. Then you got to just figure out, find a way of winning match.
Ishan still at the top for you? Change nothing for that game against Delhi?
Yeah, I don't think there will be any change.
No, absolutely. That's what exactly I was saying. In fact, I was thinking that the one good thing the Indians did is, see, there's one other thing they could have done. They could have promoted Rahul to open.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they would have gone and said that, okay, in his position, you play Surya Kumar Yadav.
Yeah.
And then the same team lands up. But what happens is the result is every player would be playing out of position.
Correct.
Yeah. Their first choice positions would have all changed. They'd be playing out of position. And what this Indian team is doing as a selection committee, as a team, is stressing on continuity.
Yeah.
So if one piece is off, I'll just change another piece. I'm not going to change anything more in this order because this is the plan with which we are coming to this tournament.
Yep.
And I like that. There is a consistency. You're not moving 5 other pieces because one piece has to be accommodated.
Yep. And the experiments that the Indian team with Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma have made over the last 1 year are perhaps now allowing India to not get too worried. They're not too hassled about, oh, what if one player is missing? They've got a plan B and a plan C ready. What's the plan for Netherlands going to be like with Vikramjit Singh and Marco Daud coming out to open the innings? Just go all out, Zach. What do they do? 322, there is a terrific trio in Bolt, Lockie Ferguson, Matt Henry with that new ball. Do you go all out? Do you say, hang on, let's just spend some time on the pitch and maybe the runs will come?
No, Vikramjit looked good.
Yeah.
He was unfazed by Shaheen's swing or pace. He's got those quick arms, catches the ball nicely. So that's something which he will look to do. A good start is what they will be expecting. I think that's something is going to give them that platform of maybe having a dig at this kind of a total. It's in anything in excess of 300. When you're looking at experience side, you are playing against is going to be a tough one. Yep. So for Netherlands, it's always going to be that marker, how well you do with the ball, and then what kind of chance you're giving yourself. So when you're looking at this kind of total they're chasing, obviously you would go in favor of New Zealand at this stage and saying that that New Zealand bowlers, Trent Bolt, Lockie Ferguson, Matt Henry, will cause all sorts of troubles, and if they get those early inroads, then things will get even more difficult for Netherlands.
Vikramjit Singh, only 20 years of age, as per the Cricbuzz player profile, should play fearlessly, Joy.
No, I think what he's saying is fearlessly, but what they'd say is that rather than just go all out, try and keep wickets in hand, reach 150, 160, let that run rate climb to above 8. Even 8 is, it's not controllable, but at least it gives them a chance. It stays in touch. They lose early wickets. They're 3 for 25 and, the match is over.
Yep.
So what they'll try and say is keep wickets in hand, not to lose early wickets. So hit the bad ball, but don't take chances. I mean, you don't need to take unnecessary chances. Stay in touch with the total because when you have wickets in hand. So later, at least you can make a run for it because smaller sides, it's difficult to go bang-bang against teams like this and win.
Yes, there's Colin Ackerman as well at number 3. So clearly the top 4, top 5 has a role to play, and Colin at number 3 will have to come and sort of hit the ground running regardless of when he comes into bat.
Look, middle order, when you're seeing it, they had a nice partnership between Baz Delete and him.
Yeah.
So that is what we'll have to wait and see how they go on about doing that. But what matters is the platform, what kind of platform you have, what kind of situation you walk in. You don't have to go too far. Just look at yesterday's game. You can be the best of the batting lineup, cluster of wickets, and the pressure is on. Yep. And it's not easy when bowlers are on top like that. So that start is going to be crucial. That platform is going to be crucial. If you have to give yourself a chance to chase down this total, you got to create that scenario. Yep. You got to create that fear in the bowling unit that hang on, this is getting difficult and things are slipping out of our hand. Yep. How do you create that? It's only by stitching a very good partnership or laying that foundation. Yep. So if they're able to do that in, say, top 3 batters, then Ackerman and Baz Delete will have a good chance of taking those things forward. So Max O'Dowd and Vikramjit, from that point of view, needs to provide that kind of a start which they have. We've seen that the opening partnership can be that strong one. If they get 60-70 run partnership at the top, I think it will be an interesting game.
Basile is now becoming, he is their talisman, isn't he? So, and he knows that the buzz around the team is a lot more because of him. Very little is known about the other players. I'm sure he knows that he is clearly the top story of this side.
Yeah, well, Basile is there. And for Durham also as a professional, he's been fantastic this year. For Netherlands, he's been fantastic. Again, players like Basile play under different conditions. 9-10 months a year, they're playing somewhere or the other. So, he's a consummate professional. Okay, he's also aware this is the biggest stage. You know, if you ever want to catch the attention of the world, read IPL franchise, read anything. This is the best place in the world to do it. So he'll be motivated as well. Not to say he's not motivated playing for Netherlands. But remember, there's a lot of players out there, like Colin Ackerman, who actually have played in New Zealand. Yeah. So their awareness of how New Zealand plays, how New Zealand cricket happens, they've shared, times together, all these players, in the junior stages, Matt Henry, Tom Latham. Yep. So that familiarity will help to a certain extent. They're aware of it. They're aware of what these New Zealand bowlers do. So that's a little bit of a plus. And whatever little advantage you can get, because it's going to be a tough game for them.
Matt Henry was brought to the World Cup as a backup plan for their first choice bowlers. There was no Tim Southee in that first game, no Lockie Ferguson either. But he picked up 3 wickets, so I'm sure his confidence is very high. Given how the pitch has behaved, you've seen it behave the way it has in the first innings. Do you expect Matt Henry to have in the same kind of impact in this second innings as well?
He was very impressive. He was very impressive in the first match, hitting the deck hard. And that's something which I was not expecting, but he has done a good job. So he's understood the conditions.
Yeah.
He knew, okay, if he has to be successful in subcontinent conditions, what is it going to take? You can't just release the ball, so you got to be bending that back, hitting the deck hard, extracting some seam movement. And you've seen that against England.
Yeah.
He got David Malan out also. Those bouncers at Livingston. There's a clear-cut plan. And I think I'm very impressed by that kind of approach. So Matt Henry, before the game, I was not really giving him this kind of advantage, but I think he's going to have a decent run at the World Cup and going to give a good support to Trent Bolt, who obviously everyone will be looking at providing that early breakthrough with the swing which he's been getting. But Matt Henry's numbers are also not bad. I think he's going to do justice to that. He's in good form. You've seen it with the bat also. It's going that way. The time is good. So yeah, I think he's all set to have a decent World Cup campaign.
Yes, Henry could have Netherlands on the mat. What about Santner? Left-right opening combination, Vikramjit and O'Dowd. Would you bowl Santner maybe once in the first 10?
They might, because he's really good with that ball. And I think what's great about him is he's not the biggest spinner of the ball. His use of crease, his use of change of speed, his variations are amazing. And they have spoken of him for a long time as a future New Zealand captain. I mean, from a very young age, they look at him because he's a very good reader of the game. A little bit like Vetri used to be. Perhaps not the spinner Vetri was, but I think he's a more competent bat. I think as a bat, he's pretty special. In fact, there was a time when CSK was looking at him as a top order batsman or a pinch hitter or going at 3 and changing the game. And he's capable of that, as we saw today.
Yeah.
So I think he's a very intelligent, thinking cricketer. And if they give him the ball early, he'll know what to do with it. But today is an interesting case because I think if the situation is, if they get those wickets or they put time pressure or run pressure on Netherlands, then a bowler like him could get 3-4 wickets. Because, you're going to take your chance against that left-hand bowler. You're going to run down the crease at him. That's when he's at his best.
Well, the Dutch opening duo is out to bat. They need 3-2-3 to win this game. Can they? Will they? We'll find out. Well, world cricket is full of stories of big upsets and big surprises. A lot will depend on their opening partnership as well with Bolt, Lockie Ferguson, Matt Henry with that new ball will be quite a force to reckon with. We need this duo to give us their predictions for the first 10 overs.
First 10 overs, I would say today 47.
Okay. He's taken 47, so I'll go even lower, 38.
I'm going to say 25 for 3. I love orange as a color, but 25 for 3. I got it spot on day one. 282, I said 282.
Yeah, you got 282. Absolutely.
We can see that.
There was
that's where the
Link
arrogance is
182,
coming from.
Manish 282.
That's the arrogance right now. 28.
No arrogance, sir. No arrogance. This is tukka lag jata hai kabhi kabhi. We're done on this mid show. Make sure you join us at the 15 over mark on Cricbuzz Combox. Good luck, Netherlands. Should be a good game. See you at the 15 over mark. Bye for now.